You will be instructed to don a life jacket and remain in the muster station of the craft. The crew will assess and activate the required emergency systems. The crew will then provide further instructions. Should it be necessary to evacuate the craft, you will be directed to an emergency exit and those will take warm clothing and bags and bulk chemicals. A member of the crew will assist those who require it. Thank you for listening to this safety mission. If you have any questions, please ask the member of the crew. We wish you a pleasant journey. Mind your passengers. Thanks again.
We're then going to make our way up towards Ride Pad, turning off the bottom of our pad there, and then heading back out again. So that's you for those of you on the left hand side of the craft at the moment. We'll come back out the other way, so those of you on the right hand side will get a view as well. As I said, I think I have to control the craft, and it is a bit more tricky over the sand and the shallow water, so I'll go a bit quiet while we do the sand demo and get back to you when we're back on the water again. So thanks very much for that. Another point of interest, we've actually got a seal on the sand up on the right hand side there, which we don't see very often, colloquially known as Dave the Seal. So those of you on the right hand side, there is a seal there that we're just going past, so we'll stay well out of this way.
Seal just over there.
Yes, so you can't take one on the sand. It's a seal. This is it's just having a little sort of rest, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
everyone, as you can see, nice smooth transition from the water onto the sand there. We have to be a little bit careful operating at slow speeds over shallow water. What can happen if you go too slowly is the craft starts to pick up water and sand in the skirt, and if it does fill the skirt up with sand, then we do grind to a halt somewhat. This can be a bit of a bucket and spade job to dig sand out of the skirt again, and it spoils everybody's day, but thankfully none of that today. I'm up and running at a nice speed now across this nice expanse of sand here. What we're going to do now, we're going to get back out into the water again and do a couple of donuts for you, which is good fun. Show the hovercraft can float like a boat, so that's what it really wonders. The skirt deflates, so we'll give that one a go. And then make our way back over to Southsea again. So enjoy that. So there we go, folks, there's our donut, and now sitting in the water floating like a boat. The hovercraft can float quite happily like a boat. Underneath all the skirt and the rubber is the hull of sort of conventional vessels, or a flat bottom obviously for sitting on the pads and on the ground, but there is a hull under there and it will float indefinitely with the skirt deflated and indeed the engine stopped, although we're not going to be stopping the engines today. So that's nice. Hopefully enjoyed the experience over the sand there. We're going to make our way back over to Southsea now. We'll have, as I said, a bit of a walk around the craft, and I'll show you to ask any questions you've got. So please enjoy the cross back over again. Thank you.
Okay, so first thing, I'll tell you about the Hovercraft skirt system. So these craft have got what's called a bag and finger skirt. So the bit you can see here, large inflatable bit, is the bag. Okay. Underneath the bag, which you'll see is pretty heavy, we have 144 fingers attached to the bottom of the skirt. Okay. The fingers, when the craft hover, you see, are bits of sort of flexible rubber stuck off the bottom. Okay. What the fingers do is create a nice seal between the bottom of the hovercraft and the surface that we're hovering over. Original hovercrafts, they didn't have a skirt at all. The first ones prototypes back in the 50s and 60s, okay? And they were very difficult to control, okay, because the air cushion beneath the craft was just escaping all the time. So the addition of the skirt contains that air cushion, gives the craft stability and makes it controllable by the pilot. You're not actually hovering on the skirt, the inflatable bit you can see, that just contains the air cushion. The bit you're hovering on is the high pressure air beneath the hull, okay? And the skirt around the outside stops that high pressure air from escaping, which is the principle of how it works. How high the hull is hovering depends a bit on the condition of the skirt, okay? Fingers on the bottom of the skirt wear out. We have to change them probably 2 times a year, all of them, which is quite a big time consuming job. This craft's got almost brand new fingers, it's just been done, so it's sitting a little bit higher up, probably about 1.5 meters off of the surface it's hovering over in the centre of the craft, okay? Let's move a little bit further back. So where does the craft get this air from for the air cushion? Well, we've got lift fans, okay? The craft's got 4 lift fans, 2 on each side. You can see one there. There's another one inside the engine casing further back. So there's 2 lift fans on this side, 2 lift fans on the other side. The lift fans draw in the air from outside and force it down through a series of pipework into the skirt system and then underneath the hull, okay? And that's what gives us our lift. Inside the engine casing there, we've got 2 engines, okay? The craft is powered by 2 V12 diesel engines built by MAN Engines in Germany, okay? Each with 2 turbochargers, 2 intercoolers, develop about 2,000 horsepower on each engine, okay? The engine's 25 litre displacement, they burn around 160 litres an hour of fuel each at full speed, okay? They're actually a lot more fuel efficient than the previous generation of craft. The previous generation of craft, which had 4 engines, a lot more expensive to run. From a piloting perspective, in some ways, were nicer, but you have to make the numbers add up as well, and fuel efficiency in 2025 is a really, really important thing. This generation of craft with 2 engines, far more fuel efficient. The lift fans I was just speaking about, and the propellers, both driven from the same engine, okay? The previous generation of craft, separate engine for lift fans, separate engine for propellers. Okay, this one is the same. Moving on backwards. We have here the little fence on the side, wave deflector, okay? At full speed, propeller spinning at about 1800 revolutions per minute, so it's really, really high speed. Tips of that propeller approaching the speed of sound. So if you get a large wave or anything like that crashing over the propeller, there's potential for that to cause damage. So we've got big wave deflectors in fence on the side, just to stop any waves in rough conditions from crashing over and damaging the propeller. Speaking about rough weather, limits for the craft, we have a 30 knot wind speed limit, that's the maximum. This now is probably between 20 and 25, so it's, you know, it's getting a bit windy, but it's not up there, we can do a bit more of this. Wave height limit is 1.5 metres, okay, maximum wave height for the craft. Again, with this wind direction, it's quite sheltered, okay, the wind's coming straight off the land, so we're not seeing too many large waves building up. If the wind comes from over there, in this channel direction, then you get a much larger swell rolling in, and it's a lot more interesting, okay, but today is okay. Let's keep moving. So, scary business end of the craft. We've got obviously the two propellers. They will give us our thrust. Okay, they're what we call variable pitch propellers. Variable pitch propellers means that when the engines are at operating RPM, say it's about 1800 RPM, the propellers are just spinning at a continuous speed. In order to change the thrust to manoeuvre the craft, we change the angle of the blades, okay, and we can do that pretty much instantaneously, and that gives really, really good manoeuvrability for the craft. Okay, you can obviously use them asymmetrically, put one forward, one ahead, which is going to help you to spin the craft on the spot as well. But for steering, primarily, we've got these 8 rudders that you can see. Okay, on this craft, we've got an electrically driven rudder system. Okay, the other craft has now been upgraded to a hydraulic system, which is proving to be a bit more reliable than this. We'll do this one later this year, probably. Our sister company who build them, Griffin Marine up in Portchester, do the work for us. This one's still got the electric system. And with the electric system, we've got the second rudder from the inboard side, which is powered, okay, by the electric ram, and then the rest are all connected to it with these tie rods, okay, so they just follow it as it moves. 2 ways of controlling the rudders, so we can either do it by a joystick in the control cabin on the armrest, which I prefer, or as a set of foot pedals. I choose my words carefully, some of the more experienced pilots prefer the foot pedals because that's what the old craft traditionally had, so they didn't have the joystick, okay, but it's a personal preference. During training, you train with both, and then most people decide they prefer one or the other, so yeah, it just depends. Exhaust system there, as I say, in the middle there. It's not tremendously exciting, but as I say, it's for the 2 engines that we've got on this craft. What I was going to tell you, big bars on the back here. Again, another bit of rough weather protection. When this skirt's inflated, it will come up very close to touching the bottom of these rudders, especially if you have a rough sea and it's all bouncing up and down a bit. So these bars just prevent any damage to the rudder system from the skirt. Okay. Moving on. On these, it's pretty much 50-50. The craft they built for Japan now, because there's 3 of these out in Japan now, they put slightly more into the lift and slightly less into the thrust. They felt the performance would be better if you had a bit more through, so they've gone about 60-40 on that. And our pilots that have driven the Japanese craft would concur with that. They think a bit more lift and a bit less thrust is the way to go. Whether this will get reconfigured or not, I don't know. Last thing to talk about on this side, and then we'll go back inside to save my voice in this wind. Life rafts, okay. Passenger capacity of the craft, 78 people. We've got 2 100-man life rafts, 1 each side, so there's plenty of capacity there. In the event of emergency, we do regular drills and training with the pilots teams and with the crew, with our crisis management team ashore for any eventualities and emergencies, as all maritime operators do. But we've got life rafts here, same life-saving equipment you find on any other sea-going vessel. So what we'll do now, I think, because I think the other craft's approaching and we'll get in trouble if we're still here. We'll go back inside and we'll do any questions that you've got. Yes.
Why aren't there more hovercrafts in use in the UK?
Favourite question. Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? I think they work very well in this location, and you've just seen why, because of that sand. And obviously that's why I probably told you about it in the video, and in fact I think it did. Obviously it was set up with the unique characteristics of this route with having that sand there. Means that low tide conditions like that, the only other way to get into Ryde, as some of you know, is with a fast cat and a walk down the pier. Our big advantage is being able to go straight into the centre of town. So that's why they were popular originally. Why aren't there more around the UK? I think the
Operating costs are quite high. It's a difficult balancing the expenses and the income with these. The skirt maintenance is high cost for us. Fuel is a high cost. We make it work, but that is perhaps off-putting to somebody who was looking to set up a route. And the training as well. It's quite a unique thing being able to pilot a hovercraft, let's say, without blowing my own trumpet too much. Not everybody gets it, not everybody that we take on is successful either. We've got about a 50% pass rate for pilot training, slightly higher recently, but so there's all sorts of reasons. We think there should be more hovercraft, we'd love there to be, you know, absolutely. There's the route out in Japan, in Oita in Japan, which it should open this year. Those of you who don't know, they purchased 3 of this class of hovercraft, slightly stretched, but about 2 meters longer than these. But they were delivered, it's coming up to 2 years, 18 months, 2 years now. And they've been going through the training and the setup process out there. And they're hoping to launch the service, I think, in the summertime. So that's really exciting, and hopefully, if that goes well, perhaps it'll be the catalyst to see some more routes set up around the world. We'll see. But there are search and rescue, military, coast guard hovercraft in use as well. They're pretty common, you know, just passenger not so common. Yes, sir.
How does somebody get into being a hovercraft pilot or captain?
Yeah. So there's, I think we've all got our different paths to get here. I'm not sure any of us originally, well, one of us did actually, he's a bit obsessed with hovercraft, but the other 6 of us probably didn't set out to become hovercraft pilots.
Yeah.
My background was cruise ships. I went to sea in 2009 and worked for a major cruise line for, it was about 11, 12 years altogether, up to chief officer's level. I got my Master Mariner's licence from the MCA, Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, while I was doing that.
Yeah.
Then pandemic came along and changed a lot of things, and I didn't want to go back to sea anymore. I'd had enough of doing that.
Yeah.
So this came up, and you know, here I am. Obviously, to go from cruise ships to hovercraft is a conversion.
Yes.
Training, we do our training in-house. Obviously, it's the only hovercraft operator.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else to go, and passenger hovercraft operator, nowhere else to go and train. So the training consists of about 25 hours altogether, with an instructor off the route.
Yeah.
Practicing your landings and your departures and all your manoeuvres on the water and that kind of thing. Then once you've done your 25 hours off the route, you do 100 hours supervised on the route with an instructor again, and then gradually over time you raise your operating limits, so you're able to operate in windier conditions until you become unlimited. Yes. Beautifully done. I say it's a bit tight with 2 craft on the pad here and it's windy, so he's done a nice job there. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, once you qualify, you do an exam with one of our instructors. You don't immediately get thrown out in the windiest of conditions. Initially, you have a 20 knot wind speed limit on your piloting, and then over time that becomes 25 knots and then 30 knots as you gain your experience. Usually takes about a year or so to become 30 knot, which is effectively unlimited, because as I say, the wind speed limit of the craft is 30 knots, so you can't go above that anyway. Yes, sir.
Who makes the call on the limit on the day? It's like, are you sat up there going, this is too difficult now, or is it that made by the operating base?
No, it's made by us as pilots, yeah. Obviously, if we come in at the start of the day and it's already very windy, then we may make that call from the base without going out. We've got a number of anemometers around the Solent that we use, online ones, for determining what the wind speed is. And obviously, based on the forecasts and everything that we're expecting, we can make that decision. If it gets too windy during the day when we're out there, you know in yourself on the craft, we know our craft and we know the route and it's not managing it properly anymore, and we have to stop during the day. So there's a lot of things to take into account, but we're pretty good at it. We're pretty experienced in making the call. We don't often get it wrong. I think we're usually pretty spot on with it. Yes.
How do the life crafts work? Do they like, you have to have a crew do it, or like?
Yeah, the life raft. So they've got, you probably see it quite well from where you sat actually, a rope coming out of the back end of it there, and that's the firing line for the life raft called painter line. So what the crew will do, John's the expert on this, he knows better than me. We haven't done it, but we do it all the time, don't we? So John's going to go out and he's going to pull that rope out, and when he gets to a certain point, it's going to pull the pin out of an air cylinder that's inside there, and that's going to inflate the life raft using that compressed air cylinder. Okay, and it's got two big tubes to it, which give it its flotation. It's reversible, so it'll go either way up. It's just open, obviously categorised inland waters that we're operating in here. You're never going to be far away from rescue. So I've been all around the world with cruise ships, and if you could pick somewhere to be in distress, let's say, if there's such a thing as a good place, then you'd probably pick the Solent, because you've got numerous other ferries and rescue services very, very close by.
What happens if something happens to John?
Basically, that can be, if the craft was to sink for whatever reason, if he got damaged by another vessel and we lost stability,
Deflate it, then no, it's going to be fine.
Sorry, I got told off.
What's going on back there?
Get crushed and the little blade spins and cuts all the lines that allow it to float up and float automatically. Yeah, there's a great YouTube video of it actually. They did it a couple of years back, and so if you just ever want to see what they look like when they were floating, just go to YouTube and just say Hovercraft, life raft. So, just before my time, unfortunately. So very fun.
Have we got a raffle, Lou?
Oh yeah, we've already picked the number.
Oh, you have, right?
Yeah.
Excellent, yeah.
So I've done them all. I walked outside and the wind blew them everywhere. So I
Oh, well.
we are hoping that you have got one of the numbers that we've got. And he's picked the number for me. It's 109.
Yes.
He's got 109.
Yes.
Where was that? There you go. So you've won one of our
Oh, thank you very much.
Hovercraft models.
That is fantastic.
All right. There you go. If anybody wants to buy anything, there is plenty of souvenirs inside the terminal for you, okay? All right.
Excellent, right, well, thank you very much for coming along, everybody. I think what we'll do is we'll wait for him to leave before we get you off, because otherwise you're going to get in the way of the service craft. But if you've got any more questions in the meantime, then please fire away. Yeah, well, we have got Carl. Yes, sir, Carl.
Who still builds hovercrafts and where are they built?
So, builders of the hovercraft still are Griffin Marine, which are based up in Porchester, up at the top end of the harbour. And then around the world there's some other manufacturers. Some of them build Griffin craft on licence, I believe, and then there's some other United States that build them as well. US Navy have got a few as well, but our main sister company is Griffin Marine in Porchester, who built these. And they're not just big, large passenger ones like this. They've got a range of smaller craft as well. 380s and 2000s, as they call, which is sort of two-seater and 12-seater and this kind of thing. So there's quite a range that they do, and they've also got a bit of a market in the second-hand craft as well.
Yeah. Do you want to keep these up now?
Yeah, let's do that now. Yeah.
Right, sorry everyone, we've just got some feedback forms for you. If you just wouldn't mind filling it in, just we've got a little feedback as to what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, etc. Okay.